Arborio are here to tell us how our village will be improved by a brand new bridge. So we have Bob and Andrew here from the DOT, and then Arborio.
Pete Arborio.
Pete, oh, you are Pete. He's the real Arborio.
He's the owner.
He's the Arborio.
His name is on the side of all the trucks.
Yes. So we thank these guys for. What's that?
I said I'm third generation in the business, and
Right.
it's not because we're good at it, it's just because I don't know how to do anything else.
Okay, that's fine. Well, I don't know how to do anything else either, so. Well, we thank you guys for coming.
No problem. We appreciate the opportunity.
Hand it over to you
We
guys.
appreciate the opportunity. Yeah, thanks to the town for letting us come in and talk about the job and, you know, be honest and candid about what you should expect, what you shouldn't expect, and the job that we're going to try to do to build this bridge for everybody in a way that doesn't disrupt the community. And it's not easy. And let me just go back to Pete Arborio. So, you know, the state of Connecticut Department of Transportation, we award projects to low bidders. So you can look at that any way you want, as first loser or low bidder. And low bidder sometimes isn't always quality. And so in this particular case, I want to let everybody know, we do have a third generation Connecticut bridge builder. They are incredibly good at what they do, to the point when the state of Connecticut has an emergency and I need somebody at the bridge immediately, yeah, we call Pete. Okay, so we're all very lucky to have a very capable contractor here, because there are no guarantees with the low bid process. Okay, so anyway, we feel, the DOT feels pretty good to have a partnership with Arborio Corporation. We work well with them, they work well with us, so that's a huge relief for me and probably everybody here in this room. Okay, so having said that, it's still a hard job. It's a $3.5 million that we're going to try to insert in the middle of town and do so in a way that not everybody, well, do so in a way that is the best we can do, okay? Taking a bridge out of service while everybody's using it and rebuilding one is pretty challenging from an engineering perspective and from a construction perspective. And so it's all about good plans. And so thankfully, let's just talk about the bridge for a second. You know, it's incredibly wide. It's over 110 feet wide, right? And so that makes things really easy for us, because when we don't have wide structures and we need to replace them, what are you doing with the cars? Short of building a temporary bridge or doing temporary widening. And so it becomes a lot more challenging. Here, we have the room. I'll bet it's occupied by a grass island and some trees. But underneath that is in fact a bridge, and we're going to utilize that. And so let's just put the main concern that everybody usually has with these types of projects is, how are we maintaining traffic, right? And so let's just get to that, because a lot of people have concerns about how are we maintaining traffic so that everybody can get by. So just bear with me. I've got some plan sheets up here. I'm going to open up some select plan sheets. And Andrew, if I skip something, please feel free to jump in, okay?
Yep.
So, what we're looking at here, if everybody can visualize that, this is the bridge, and I'm going to try and use a pointer, but over there would be the north parapet, right? So the north, so that's on the school side, that's the north parapet. And way over here is, this bridge is on an incredible skew, is the south parapet. So we're basically going to, first stage, we're going to build the north stage first. Okay? We're going to close the north side of the bridge, and we're going to divert traffic and push everybody south, which is towards this side. Okay? And we're going to give the contractor a rather extensive work zone, because they need it. We're completely replacing the substructure in its entirety. So that just means that the bridge deck is going, the structural steel is going, what we call abutments, the main supporting elements of this bridge are being completely demolished, okay, right down to zero. And then the new bridge is going to go exactly in its place, right, exactly in its place, okay? So in order to do that, we need a lot of room. You need a room to put a crane, you need a room to get trucks in and out, to haul the debris out. You need a lot of room. Thankfully, we have room, and we're still able to manage. If you notice, in this stage, what I call the stage, we still have traffic in each direction, still have traffic in each direction, and let's just talk about that, okay? So we have some shared traffic, right? Let's see if I got my traffic plan that shows my sequencing right here. So I'm not trying to be overly technical, but what this is trying to show everybody is that the lights are going to go green and red. We're still going to maintain a traffic signal. So these people going, let's see, that would be west,
154 west.
west, are going to get a green, and nobody else is going to move. And then people going east are going to get a green, and nobody's moving.
The road, before you confuse everybody.
Sorry.
Sorry for interrupting.
Please do.
What everybody considers 154 north and south.
Right.
I know you're saying east and west.
Thank you.
By the compass, it's east and west,
Thank you.
but the road is north and south.
You know what? Connecticut is a funny state, okay? I'm used to working on the Gold Star, where northbound is actually the southern bridge, and it runs west, so, or east. So it's incredibly confusing in this state, so thank you for correcting me.
Sorry.
Okay? No, because as an engineer, I look at true north on the plan sheet, so when I talk to the contractor and I say the north abutment, he knows exactly where I'm talking about.
None of us
right?
will. So.
Right? Okay, so thank you for that correction, okay? This is a pedestrian phase. We're still maintaining the ped buttons so that people can get across, in which case everybody stops. And then we have this phase, which is 154, right? 81. I'm sorry, 81. 154 is the other one. And those people can go either the left or the right, okay? So if you go back to the plan sheet, that's what we're maintaining, okay? And these little square boxes that you see, I don't have a laser pointer, but these square boxes that you see are sensors that we put in the pavement, okay? So this is not just a dumb traffic signal. It just cycles and cycles and cycles. This is a traffic signal that's intelligent. It thinks. It knows when cars are there. So it's going to adapt to the peak flows when traffic is high, and 2 o'clock in the morning when there's no cars, it's going to say, hey, there's no cars. And so, this is not a simple traffic signal, which we have the room to put it in, we have the traffic volume that requires it, so it's going to get put in. We don't always get that everywhere we go. Sometimes it's just back and forth, and there's no logic to why it's doing that. Here, we're not giving that up, okay? So, for traffic purposes...
I'm sorry.
Yes, sir.
You started to say about 154 south. Is that an arrow that's going north and south there? So it's only one lane traffic there?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, basically it's a cattle chute, right? It's a very challenging turn to navigate. And so it's really one direction at a time would be navigating through there so we don't have an accident, okay? And so look, that's gonna be a different look than everybody's used to, okay? It's necessary because that's where the bridge is currently, and that's where we need to put it, okay?
Okay.
So, listen, we were just out there earlier talking about it. We're going to do everything we can to delineate those barriers. Those are going to be concrete jersey barriers. So these black and white checkered things that you see are immovable objects for obvious safety reasons. We'll make sure they're well delineated. We were looking at the illumination. We'll make sure we have good illumination out there so that we don't have people, driving into these things, okay, and getting hurt. But that's going to be a big change when we do that, okay? And so just for discussion purposes, that change, you should expect to see that configuration after the 4th of July. We can thank Peter Borio for that, okay? Because contractually he could get out there earlier. I think he recognizes it's better off to wait till the holidays over, okay? So that barrier and that stage of construction is scheduled to after the 4th of July, okay? Now, let's just be honest about how we get there. The barrier goes in on the 4th of July, but we got a whole road to build, okay? Where the grass and the trees are today, okay? So what that means is you can expect to see traffic being interfered with, although it's never closed. We do have to be able to get material out, right? Asphalt back, machinery in and out, and we got to construct that thing. And ideally, it's being constructed when, you know, the bridge is open, so we're not interfering with you, but other than the trucks coming in and out, right? Does that make sense? If you're gonna get in and out of that dirt area, how do you get in and out of it? Well, you use the roads, and so you're gonna see some interference to traffic. You know, we're gonna do it the best we can during off-peak hours, but that's what's gonna happen. Okay, we basically have to get that grass area prepared for a road to put cars on it for July 4th, or after the July 4th, right?
Bob, I have a quick question.
Yes?
Candlewood and Depot will be closed, or will you get to that? I don't want to skip.
No,
ahead.
let's get to that. Let's get to that. I'm gonna switch map, okay, Andrew?
Yep.
So Andrew, you wanna talk people through the detour for me?
So in stage one, that Bob was just talking about, our work zone is set up basically right here, but it will encompass the outlet to Depot Road. So we are closing access to Depot Road during stage one. That's the only road closure that we have. Candlewood Hill won't be affected. It's basically going to come into the intersection the same way it does right now.
Right.
Okay,
Right.
so we're only closing Depot Road, hence the detour signs that we were talking about earlier. So anybody who needs to access the town garage down here, we have the Depot Road sign set up where, the detour sign set up where Depot Road comes back out. Yep, a little farther, right there, right there. Okay, so we will detour cars down Depot Hill Road or Cagliari, which is a lot closer. Smaller vehicles can navigate down Cagliari. It's a pretty narrow road. So any deliveries or anything that are anticipated for Depot Road, I'll talk to Phil, let him know that he should have them come in Depot Hill Road. All right, so basically that's the only road closure. And then in stage two, when we set up our work zone on the south side of the bridge, Depot Road will be opened back up,
Right.
and the phasing plan with the signals will be
And I'll
changed.
show you that on the slide, right? So let's just make sure we have a good understanding of the first stage, right?
Right.
Basically, this bridge is built half at a time in 2 stages, right? Yes, sir.
Okay, a couple questions. How long is stage one going to last that Depot Road will be closed? Number two, you have not mentioned, and I haven't seen anything of, how is this bridge being built? Is it box culverts? Is it box beams?
All right.
What is the quickest way that this thing is going to be done?
Well, I love that question, because I'm a bridge builder, so it's always nice when somebody asks that question. We can
This
get,
one doesn't move though, Bob.
this one does not move, that's okay. Right. So Rick and I go back to the East Haddam Swing Bridge, which is one of my favorite places to work, which has its own unique set of challenges. So let's just talk about your first question. First question was,
Phase one.
how long is stage one going to be in place, right? So it's going to start in July, and so your question is, when are we going to see the flip to stage two, right? So we have DEP permits on this project, okay, that we're bound to as a Department of Transportation, which means that we're only allowed to work in the water, okay, and interfere with the water, which we are going to be doing, okay, from June 1st to September 30th. So what that dictates to us is we have to install the supports and I call it a cofferdam, but it's the supports and the structural pieces you need to be able to build the bridge,
Correct.
20 feet down in the stream, okay? So we don't set that schedule, the DEP sets that schedule, and so regrettably, that's part of the hurdles that we have to manage, okay? And so, yeah, we could be able to do things faster, but we have to comply with other regulatory things, okay? I'd like to think that we could be out of there, Pete. I don't know if you've thought about it.
We gave you the schedule.
Yeah, so look, probably it's going to be there, my guess is until the spring, okay? And the bridge, let's just talk about the bridge, that's your second question. So this is a pile supported, so we're driving steel H piles, a lot of them, okay? Down, I don't know if I have the length, I was going to say 50, 60 feet
To refusal?
to refusal, on bedrock, and then a cast-in-place foundation and abutment, okay? So it's substantial. It's substantial. So it's not a simple bridge to build. It's heavy duty, This bridge out there, I saw the date 1928, so look, we got 100 years out of it, okay? This bridge we're building, our bridges are designed to last another 100 years. So ideally, in your lifetime, you'll only see this once, right? When we're done, we won't be back for another 100 years, okay? So it's a traditional bridge construction, largely because we're able to maintain what we feel is maintain adequate traffic. And so we're using conventional bridge building techniques, pile-supported, reinforced concrete, steel girders, okay, and 8-inch concrete bridge deck on top. So it's pretty conventional bridge construction for the state of Connecticut.
So it's going to be a poured deck on there?
Poured
not
deck, nothing precast, it's a cast-in-place deck, okay? Designed to last 100 years, okay? Yes, sir.
Just a quick one. So we're going from September 1, you've got to have that deck on that side?
No, sir. No, sir. Let me back up. So what I need done by September is the in-water work, okay, which is really just steel sheet piling. So there's some sheeting that we have to install, big steel sheets that we drive, and basically it keeps the water on the water side, and it keeps the water out of our work area, okay? So it's a rather large steel structure that we have to drive, and anything we drive in the water is subject to those limitations. Once you get the sheeting in, you're not subject to any other things, because the other things that we talked about are not in the water, okay? And pile driving is behind that wall, and so those things are exempt from the deeps regulations as well.
So after September 1st, you can pile drive and do all the other things there?
Yes, sir.
As long as you have that dam set up?
Yes, sir. And you know what? And that's a burden that we face on every bridge I build in Connecticut has that restriction in some way, shape, or form. And it's very challenging, and it can be frustrating when you're trying to go faster than you'd like, and then you can't. So I guess the point is, if you see us out there and it doesn't look like we're doing anything, well, probably because we can't. It's not because we don't want to. Yes, sir.
Okay, it's going to be up to Mr. Arborio. Once the sheet pile is done, that you can work behind, you get your structure, get your other pilings poured, get your concrete up.
Yep.
Possibly by then, normally state contracts usually stop around December 15th. Are you going to continue on during the winter, as long as you get your heat in there and keep pouring concrete so this bridge can get done phase 1?
So let me answer that for Pete, okay? And you know, Pete has a contract with the state of Connecticut. And so basically, the contractor can only do what we allow them to do, okay? But how many people remember last winter?
Yeah.
So, I was just here to tell you that, you know, in the 30 years that I've been building bridges in this state, yeah, that crippled basically every project we had. And so, you know, the winters are unknown. And by the way, contract time actually stops December 1st, okay? State of Connecticut officially stops counting time on December 1st. And so anything a contractor does beyond December 1st, that is up to him. And that, if he fell behind and he wants to catch up, right? Or how about we have a problem and we want to stay on schedule, then I'm directing him to work in the wintertime.
As long as the weather cooperates, and some winters are good,
Exactly.
some bad.
Exactly.
Your experience, would you continue if the weather is feasible?
We're going to work as long as the environmental conditions allow us to, and as long as late into the season as we possibly can. We've got 2 things that we've got to stay, well, actually 3 things we've got to stay in between. We've got the weather that we have to deal with, which is related to the specifications that we have to work on.
Correct.
We're only allowed to do certain things within the specifications. And if we get outside of spec, we can't work. The other thing is, there's no financial incentive for us to stay here any longer than what we have to. We want to get out of here as quickly as possible, and we want to be the best contractor you people ever forgot was here.
That's how we know we did a good job, right? And so look, because our stuff lasts 100 years, okay, we're all about quality, right? I'm not willing to rush certain things, if it means we end up with an inferior product, right? And it's not a good business decision. So unfortunately, some activities are incredibly temperature sensitive, and we try to work when it's reasonable to do so and cost effective, and we don't feel as the owner, as a state's owner, that I don't feel like we're giving up on any quality. Okay, that's the last thing we want to do, right? I don't want to come back early, okay? So, great question. I'm not trying to dodge it, but there's a couple of moving parts.
I agree.
You know, and if it was last winter, Pete's being kind. Yeah, look, we're out, right? That whole location will be under 5 feet of snow and ice, and you spend $1 million trying to dig yourself out, and you get absolutely nothing done. And you know what? The people who actually are going to do the work, how much work do you really think you can get out of somebody in those conditions, right? It's incredibly dangerous. It's hazardous. We had deep holes out there with the ice and the snow. I mean, you're just not going to get a day's worth of work out of people in those types of conditions. You probably are going to get 20% out of an 8-hour day, just because, right? So we factor all of those things in, and we really make those decisions collectively based on what we found out there, and we certainly want to avoid being here beyond, I'm going to say, November of 2016, which is when we're scheduled to be done.
That
Okay?
Depot Road can't reopen until that bridge is complete.
That's
on that
correct.
side. So it doesn't matter if you're working or not, that road's gonna be closed until that bridge is done.
Right. Regrettably, that stage that we just talked about, right?
Depot.
Just stage
What
one.
do they do?
Just stage one.
That stage is going to be there
No, that's what I mean, that side.
for quite some time.
Doesn't matter if he's south or
Okay.
winter, the road's not gonna reopen until.
That stage is going to be there quite some time. And here's the other thing about this bridge. This is a very unusual bridge. I mean, it's, 110 feet is probably on the big side for bridges in Connecticut. Our average bridge is probably 60 feet. At 110 feet, yeah, it's not very long. But we make up for that in width. And so you're basically building, my point is, you're basically building 2 bridges. Anywhere else, this is 2 bridges. Okay? You're really asking us to build 2 bridges, one each year, which is what we're going to do because of the width of this bridge. If this bridge, like most places we go, the bridge isn't as wide as stage 1. And we're in and we're out, one season. Okay? Unfortunately, that's not what we're given to work with. Right? It's got a lot of bridge deck here, a lot of structure to build. It's like trying to build 2 bridges.
What is the length?
60.
Right now, it's
Yeah.
about 22 feet, abutment face to abutment face, we're opening it up to 30. The girders will be 50 footers.
Right, so it's 50 feet is the span. So one of the reasons for that, right, one of the reasons this bridge is being replaced is that it's hydraulically inadequate, and that's a fancy engineering term meaning it doesn't like the water, okay? So we're pushing it back, the abutments back, giving more volume, more area for the water to go through, and we're founding our bridge on piles, like the gentleman mentioned earlier. So no matter what Mother Nature throws down there or what happens, yeah, that bridge is going nowhere, okay? You could literally undermine the entire structure, wash it all away, and it will just stay there on stilts, okay? So it's a very safe bridge. It will easily last 100 years and probably longer because of the design. It's not a cheap design.
What is the shape of what's there? I'm asking.
So, if you pardon me, what you have out there now is, I'll show you some pictures that I have. You really have a mishmash of structures. It looks like this bridge was widened over the century from 1928, because when I look at the photos, I see field stone abutments, and then I see reinforced concrete abutments. So it looks like this bridge has been put together and added on and cobbled on over the years. And that's good and it's bad, because the oldest stuff is the fieldstone stuff, and that's the stuff that we really is in the middle of the road, and that needs to be replaced. It's not pile supported. It's not pile supported, so it's very susceptible to scour or being washed underneath. Okay, You know, it's technology of 1928. Which they built them good back then. I mean, it's still here. It's still here. Yes, sir.
Who's responsible for the inspection of the E&S controls?
We are responsible. The Department of
DOT.
Transportation is responsible for the E&S controls. Okay? So in this job, back to what I said before, we have a DEE permit, which is part of the contract. The contractor is responsible to adhere to all of those environmental controls. And then, you know, this job is inspected by the state of Connecticut. So Andrew is the resident engineer. He's the guy who's going to be here every single day to make sure, you know, not just him, but he's the lead person. He's going to be working with Pete's crew to make sure that we all do the right thing every day. Okay? So if the town has an environmental planner or coordinator and has concerns or wants to talk to us, you should talk to Andrew. And a lot of towns do, and we're absolutely, you know, the more people helping us with that, the better. Okay? Yes, sir.
Is there any thought to making Cagliari Place one way? I drive it a lot, and if somebody turns in when I'm trying to come out, it's very dangerous.
So all I would say is, as a state of Connecticut employee, you know, we only deal with state roads. So if it's not a state road, the state of Connecticut or the Department of Transportation doesn't get too involved. In working with the towns, you know, there's things that if the town wanted to do something like that, they would go through our state traffic commission and they would try to coordinate that. At this point in time, you know, nobody's that I'm aware of has any discussion with the department. It's certainly not part of this job. It doesn't mean somebody else can't be doing something different. But you know, we're not here to close town roads. We're not here to detour town roads unless we have an agreement, which we do. And we're here to provide minimal impact to state roads. So the answer is no. I'm not aware of anything, and somebody else may be, but it's certainly not part of this project. Okay? So, any other questions before I go to stage 2?
Just on stage 1.
Yes, sir.
Having a business in the center of town, I'm a little concerned about how traffic is going to.
Sure.
Coming north on 154 into that section, into the intersection, that's going to be alternating traffic through all of phase 1?
Andrew?
It's just going to be alternating traffic right through here with the cycle that he explained earlier, right?
But only in that one spot, basically.
Right in that one spot.
Basically through the gorge there that's coming down.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
Think of it as one big intersection.
Yep.
The intersection's kind of grown out to accommodate the traffic flow.
So you'll still stop at the same point you were stopping?
Yes, sir.
Basically, same
And Andrew, show them the signal heads, the 4, the 1s.
Okay.
So those are the signal heads, you know.
So this span wire going right through here is up above, and all these signal heads, you see the little triangles,
2s and
the
4s,
2s
those
and
are
4s and 1s. Those are going to be the new signals that everyone's looking at when they're coming to the
temporary
intersection.
signal for that stage.
So 154 northbound, you're going to be seeing the 1s as you're coming down the hill. Obviously 81, you're going to see the 4s. 154 south, you're going to see the 2s. Right?
Can you go over the pedestrian crossing too, the pedestrian bridge, Andrew?
So,
let's do that too.
So in stage one, basically we're moving, right now, the curb line is out here. It's out here more, okay? We are relocating that curb line into the park, basically right against the existing
parapet,
existing south parapet of the bridge. So where you've seen some of the excavation going on today, we're stripping a topsoil off of that area. We're going to remove that park for now and reestablish it at the end, but we're installing a temporary pedestrian bridge.
So let's just show them. I'm going to move this over here. So there's pedestrian access, temporary, and go ahead, Andrew.
Yep, and we're going to relocate the sidewalk that goes through here now. We're going to access the pedestrian bridge so people can safely go around the work zone and still, yep, and still get across the intersection safely. We're going to put a temporary pedestrian crossing in, We're gonna have a little pedestrian button, so that was the second cycle, I believe,
Yep,
over here.
yep,
Or second or third,
Third.
whichever one it was. Yep, third cycle, right here, so phase 3.
which if nobody pushes the button, then it ain't gonna,
Right,
it's
we'll
not
skip
gonna
right,
go.
we'll skip right from 2 to 4, that way traffic keeps going.
About construction hours.
Great question.
Well, that's mine.
You're on, Pete.
7 a.m. to 3:30 p.m.
And school buses?
Will it be accommodated just like ordinary traffic?
Right, no special accommodations for a school bus, other than they can get through like everybody else.
7 a.m. to 3:30. That said, that's our regular hours. If we have an operation running where it's advantageous from a point of quality or continuous operation, we may run an hour over, something like concrete pour or something like that.
So the state of Connecticut charges a day. A day is a day, and there's 24 hours in a day. And so we don't traditionally tell somebody they can't work beyond 7 to 3:30. I mean, we give Pete 400 days to finish this job. And if he doesn't finish this job, it's $2,600 a day in fines that he pays. So I like Pete and I don't want to charge him, but at the end of the day, business is business. He's got 400 days to finish this job, okay? And so to be honest with you, no contractor wants to go in and start working overtime and spending money unnecessarily. However, Mother Nature throws a ton of rain or a ton of snow and he falls behind, then, you know, all bets are off because I'm not giving him any relief from it. The state of Connecticut wants our bridge done in 400 days. And so if he's got to work 10-hour days or Saturdays to be done on 400 days, then that's what he has to do. So I will tell you that that's very historical for every bridge we build. 90% of the time we don't run into that situation, but 10% of the time then we do. And you really don't know until you start digging up the 1928 technology that's out there, and who knows what we start finding or digging up, okay? Those are unknowns, okay? Right, Pete?
Yes, they are.
Reverend,
So,
I got one more question for you.
yes, sir.
On phase 1. I'm in the fire department, and we respond to over 400 some odd calls a year.
Okay?
And coming down 154 heading north,
Yep.
how wide of an access is it going to be for that, both lanes, one with the strips for the lights, number 2 heading north? Is there going to be enough room
27
that
feet.
if traffic was to pull to the sides of tight to the construction, that an apparatus can get through that road?
So why don't you tell them the width that we
Well-
have at the arrow?
So temporary curb line that you see right here
Yep.
and right here, to the face of barrier, 27 feet. We've got 11-foot lane and 16-foot lane. In essence, we have 27 feet over here as well. No cars should be parked in here. If there's an emergency vehicle coming, they're going to be stopped at these stop bars. If they're going through the intersection and they clear, great. I would hope someone's smart enough to get out of the way of it and not just park in the middle of
So you have
the bridge.
an access of 27 feet?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Which we think is
Yeah.
adequate, right?
Yes.
It's the common sense of the people, though.
Which I can't engineer a solution for.
Well, you can try.
We'll ask the resident state trooper to educate people on that. Okay, look, I'm gonna go to stage 2, okay? So look, things are looking good. Things are getting bright for stage 2. Because it basically looks like you feel like it's what you have today. Yes, ma'am?
Sorry, can I just interrupt you with a question, and maybe this applies to both phases? Where you're going to have some of the lights set up,
Yes.
there might not be a clear line of sight. So I'm wondering for if there's a power outage, is there going to be a generator there to power the lights as a backup or something, so that, because if you can't quite see whether there's somebody that's coming the other way or not, now the way the intersection is, you can kind of see
Okay.
if there's somebody coming.
It's a great point. So our traffic signal heads, trust me, when we go to put them out there, there'll be line of sight from the stop bar where people are legally required to stop to the signal head. If the power goes out, right, you're right, the signal will go on flash, and so you'll have to see over the tops of those barriers, right? Potentially, and that's your point.
Yeah.
That's going to be challenging. I don't know what the solution to that is. We can maybe talk about that, Pete. I don't know if there's a solar backup that we can get. You know, what happens, listen, when the power goes out, every signal you drive through is going to be out of service, and the sight line it is what it is on any location. I get your point. It's certainly going to be restricted due to the height of the barriers, right? So we'll have to take a look at that and see if we can do something with the signal itself.
And I understand your point about how when the power is out, normally the power is out, you know, at a lot of intersections, but I'm thinking of, you're not making it normal conditions out there. So you have people that maybe aren't you know, local to the area and don't know, and you know, I hate to see some sort of tragedy there because you don't have a backup plan for the traffic lights.
So you know, so my experience when the power is out, I mean, there are no lights. Normally when the power comes back on, the signals can potentially go into a flash mode. But if you have no power and it's pitch black, then like any other intersection, the word of the day is to drive cautiously through that intersection, because really nobody has the right of way at that point. Your point is valid. There's clearly a block wall in your line of sight, and so it's going to be definitely harder than it is today. And we'll see what we can do for a backup power supply or a solar thing. I know the technology exists.
What about a stop sign that we can put out there in that event? You know, just
well, a stop sign won't help you because you still have no sight line to the other stop sign.
no, but at least you're going slower through the intersection.
But listen, if the power goes out at 2 a.m., there's nobody running out here to put stop signs up or whatnot, right? I mean, you know, and that's the real world, right? If the power goes out at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, we can make all kinds of provisions. But when it goes out at 2 a.m. on a Friday night, what do we do?
People have their headlights on, so they'll be more visible.
You know, so we'll see what we can do about that. We'll see if there's something that we can do. They do make solar-powered backups. I don't know if that's in our contract or not, but if it's available and something we can do, we can figure that out, right?
Keep in mind that the barrier is only 32 inches high. It's not terribly tall.
Right, but if you're in an F-150, it looks great.
Yes, but if you're in a Honda Civic,
If you're in a little Honda Civic, I'm going to tell you right now, you're not seeing it.
I can't see over much.
Pete drives a Ford Explorer, so he's good. I drive a little Subaru, so yeah, look, I have the same problem that the Honda Civic does, right? Okay, so I'm ready to go to stage 2, right, which I have up here, which basically shows the northern half of the bridge completed, and traffic pushed to the northern half, and then we're going to take up the roadway that everybody's been using in stage 1 and build the second half of this bridge. And you can see now the alignment and the line of sight issues are all but gone. Pretty much a straight shot on 154. And even Depot Road is opened up as well. And so we're all anxious to get to stage 2. We're all anxious to get to stage 2. Looks like the temporary bridge is still in place. Andrew?
Yep.
Right? Reconfiguring the signal heads, we just got to get them lined up. And so look, that doesn't happen in a day. Right? You guys got to understand, you know, to go out and reconfigure those things, we're going to be out there. You're going to have to weave in around us. You know, we're going to do it during the daytime. And, you know, there's going to be those kinds of interruptions. And I'm going to ask, be patient. Let us get in, let us get out, and let us give you your road back so you guys can use it, okay? It's just not an easy thing, okay, to do $3.5 million and, you know, nobody notices. We're going to try. We have a pretty good stage plan. You know, we isolate the work areas from the traffic pretty well here. It's one of the better jobs that I'm actually asked to build this year. Pretty straightforward, right? Yes?
Will the town be notified on days when you're going to be redoing all the signal lights and stuff and the intersection's gonna be closed? So
Absolutely.
that they can update the website and put an announcement on to let people know that that's happening?
So look, we're up to doing all of those things, right? When we have a monthly and bi-weekly, when we get into the heat of things, we're gonna have progress meetings, okay? So I'm here to tell you the town will never be surprised about what we're doing or when we're doing it, because Andrew is going to be charged with making sure the town, and they can let us know who those people are, and we're going to give you our schedule, okay? And, you know, but for it rains for 4 days and we have to change, I mean, you know, you're going to know as much as we know, and we're going to pass that on to the town. So anytime, for example, when the steel girders show up at 50 feet long, and they're going to be in the road, they're going to get here in the road, and they're going to park in the road. And we're going to have a tough day that day, right? Because you got to unload 50-foot girders, and you're going to have to swing them out over traffic. We're going to have to halt traffic for maybe 10 minutes, get this thing up, and set it. I mean, there's going to be some tough traffic days, okay? And I'm going to ask for your patience again. We got to get the stuff into behind the barriers, right? And everything we need to build this bridge is coming down those state roads. And so we got to get them in and behind. And, you know, the Arboreal Corporation always has a good plan. They're never out there longer than they need to be. And, you know, I'm sure we'll work together to try to figure that out. And so if the town had an event or something that they need to want to make us aware of, we're more than happy to try to work around that, as long as I don't feel like it turns my 400-day job into a 430-day job. I'm willing to listen. I'm not necessarily willing to start adding time. Because in November, there's no time to be late. You can't pave a road in November, you can't line stripe a road in November, you can't grow grass in November. Translation, you're not going to finish the job. Okay? So we have to hold some things hard if we really truly want to be out of here by November. Okay? So we need Mother Nature to cooperate as much as she can. And no snow in November. That would be nice. Yes, sir.
Will there be a state trooper assigned to the area? Because any of us who live in the Higganum area will knows that the posted 35-mile-an-hour limit is maybe a suggestion at best. Because it seems like the median speed past my house, which is posted 35, and I've measured it because I know the distance at a time, is like 50 miles an hour.
Well,
so what I'm concerned about is some Nimrod blowing through the construction area and causing an accident.
And you know what? We're always concerned about speed as well. Ironically, every time we go someplace and make the road safer, what that really means is we've made it straighter and wider. And what that really means is people go faster. And so we certainly aren't looking to encourage people to go fast. You know, there's going to be times where we are going to interfere with the state roads. We're going to call and get, state troopers to help us with traffic control and whatnot when it's appropriate. And, if the town starts to see people sneaking through the back roads, then we'll have to work with the town, and the town can figure out, how to get speeds reduced. I can tell you there's some really effective ways, like the speed radar trailers that tell everybody how fast they're going. It's an economical thing. We don't have to have a trooper there every day, and it just draws that speed thing to those kinds of what they're actually doing, right? So we have some tools that are available to us, but obviously there's no way for us to engineer the crazy things that people are going to do, right? But we'll work with the towns, and we're going to do the best we can for managing the traffic safely, okay?
Do you put signage way back saying reconfigured intersection ahead or something so that people know that it's coming?
So right now we have our legal signs up. If we have a need to tell anybody about a lane close or a lane shift, we do have advanced warning sign. The way I see this, Andrew, we're really not changing it. I don't believe we would have a need for it, right? Our legal signs, which are up, which tells the whole world, hey, it's a construction project coming.
Those signs are still on Route 9 from when it was built 45 years ago. I mean, those signs don't really mean a lot to people.
Well, they should.
They
should.
They were actually kept up to date.
They should. Unfortunately, those legal signs, you know, they go up all the time, and, you know, when you have a lot of construction, it is certainly challenging to keep track of it. But I would contend, if you're local, yeah, you know this bridge is under construction. You know, right? And, you know, what's the percentage? The local traffic should know, right? Local traffic is going to know.
There's been a stoplight down there for how many decades?
I don't know. Where are we?
Before you were born.
No, but which roads, sir?
Oh, no, right there.
Just trying to understand.
Oh, 81 and 154.
Okay, so right here.
81 and 154.
So there's a signal.
There's
right?
already a signal.
So when it's red, you stop. When it's green, you go,
Yeah.
right? And, you know, through that intersection when it's green, do we have an advisory? Are we slowing? I mean, we really don't have speed limits through intersections, okay? Nobody has a speed limit through an intersection. I think once we get these wall of barriers up, it's gonna freak people out a little bit, and they're gonna have to slow down, right? You're gonna have to slow down,
They're already
right?
slowing down looking at everybody walking around.
All right, well, you know, to some degree, that's a good thing, right? To some degree, that's a good thing.
Traffic calming.
Well, many here remember when 154 was the main road,
Yep,
and the chaos on weekends when all the traffic used to get in there, and there'd be lines all the way down to the East Haddam Bridge and all the way up to Washington Street in Middletown.
yep.
Keep
And they
Route 9
still,
in good.
Keep
they
Route 9
still
in good
pass this
condition.
road off as a scenic view, and on the
Right.
weekends, you're gonna have people, and even though the workers aren't working there, you're gonna have all this coming into the,
So to your effect, I mean, the Route 9 job that we just did, which was fairly extensive, and we were encouraging people to use these roads. You know, we tried to time the job so that we weren't encouraging people off of Route 9 and then trying to squeeze them through a tight area, right? So we're trying to coordinate those activities as best we can, right? You know, at the end of the day, people are going to take alternate routes. The state of Connecticut is not directing anybody where to go. The roads are open, so local traffic is going to do what local traffic does. And to some degree, Pete, Andrew, and I can't control what local traffic does. I can tell you is that we're not directing. Local traffic is going to do whatever local traffic is going to do, and that's a common problem everywhere we go. And all we can try to do is work with the town and try to come up with a solution that satisfies everybody. Yes, ma'am.
I just want to clarify what you said a few minutes ago, to make sure I understood
Okay.
you correctly. When you said at times you might need some trooper coverage to help with some traffic control, is that what you
Absolutely.
said?
Absolutely.
So if that's the case, that comes out of your project budget, right? That's nothing that our town is going to be burdened with
That's
paying
correct.
for
That's
the extra
correct.
trooper coverage? I mean, our troopers do a wonderful job, but they can only be so many places at once, so.
So that's a great point. Anything that I hire a trooper for is strictly for construction-related duties.
Okay.
Right? What I can't do is hire a trooper and have them run around the corner and do speed enforcement on a town road. That's not something I can do, right? So anytime we utilize a trooper, it will be for public safety, access in and out of the work area, okay? And then, you know, we'll decide on the activity, whether that's one trooper, two troopers, and, you know, and whatnot, right? So, yeah, no, that's strictly on the Department of Transportation. As a matter of fact, we bill the state police directly. There's no middleman. They send us a bill and we pay it, right, directly. So we don't ask the contractor to cut a check for us and pay the state police. We reimburse the state police directly, right?
Just to add,
Oh,
we did get the speed trailer today.
outstanding. Appreciate
It's
that.
at the town garage, I think.
Outstanding.
And
Get it out on the road.
we'll use it up if we have to.
And that's a great, I tell you right now, that's probably the most effective tool at maintaining speeds. At least it's short of having an officer, you know, give tickets, and, you know, not everybody wants a ticket. So that's a kind of a double-edged sword, especially if somebody in here gets that ticket. But the speed trailers work really, really well. Sorry. Okay, yes, sir.
I have a question. I'm on Landing Road. Traffic is going to be detoured in both directions, or one direction, I assume just...
Help me out, Andrew, I don't know.
However, are you
Landing
allowing...
Road is off of,
This way?
Yes.
yeah,
Depot,
where you come in from Depot.
Depot
What I
Way.
showed you before.
Okay, there, that's
Okay.
it.
Nope.
Okay.
I'm at the top of it. Depot Road begins at the
On 150.
at the Y over, no.
No,
Right
go ahead.
there.
Yeah.
Okay.
So Landing Road starts, and I guess before Depot was built. That was a
Okay.
section of land. So I'm right there where the Y is.
Sure.
There's a big ledge there. My house is there. When I get really, every once in a while, a trailer, a truck doing construction comes by, I get, I don't know what the proper term is, but I call it sympathetic vibrations.
Get rattled.
From rattling. Now, are you going to be allowing heavy equipment down that
No.
road? Or what about tractor trailers that are detouring around unless it's a necessity?
So listen, our contractor is legally required to stay on the state roads, okay? And so wherever we go, we're a state road organization. Pete, I would be telling Pete he can't use those roads unless, you know, it was an emergency, right? It's not, I don't envision we'd ever have that need.
But
We
the
don't.
truck's going into the town garage.
Right,
That's
so-
the way you're sending them.
Well, so let me just explain, and I don't want to put Pete on the spot, but the contractor has already worked out a staging area, right? Are you okay to talk to that? Sure. Right, so, you know, this is what Pete does. Pete's always got a plan, okay? So before the job's even been awarded, he's figuring out, how am I gonna get my stuff in and out? Where am I gonna stage my equipment? Where am I gonna stage my materials? How do I effectively build this bridge in 400 days? And so, Pete, I'm gonna let you talk to that, if you don't mind.
Yeah, we've got a staging area right adjacent to the project, in the old, it was a lumber yard, I believe. Rossi. And we have a trailer in there, and that's where the bulk of our equipment will be stored that's not actively working on the project. As far as getting up and going around Landing Road and so forth, deliveries to the project, for the most part, are going to come down Route 9 and come down Route 154.
Right.
Generally speaking, if somebody's up there, they're lost, and they're going to answer to me.
But I think the question is that the town garage gets deliveries of sand, of whatever that they need. They're gonna have to go Landing Road past his
I
house.
mean, who's gonna be
I understand
liable
it.
if
I understand
my
it.
china falls off the walls or something like that? Is there a liability over here, or whatever?
It's
Not that I'm looking for.
It's not, it's not something the state of Connecticut is gonna be engaged in, right? Yeah. And so, look, if that becomes a nuisance or an issue, then, you know, we would look to try to talk to the town and try to figure out how best to resolve those things, right?
That is a kind of treacherous serpentine road if nobody knows the way.
Would the Public Works be able to deliver, will there be an opening where you would allow just the sand trucks to come in, the larger deliveries, if we have?
I tell you what, I'd like to defer that conversation until we get out there, you know. Contractor's been given a right and an access to build this job in 400 days for $3.5 million. It's not fair to them to start introducing additional restrictions or whatnot. However, if Pete's a great guy, if we can make those things happen and we can provide those things, then we would certainly do that, right? To try to be that good neighbor. But we certainly can't promise that, okay? Does that make sense?
Yeah, I'm just thinking in December, you guys are done at that point.
So I think if it's in December.
I'm not going to absolutely say no.
Right.
Okay? I can't absolutely say yes either, but if something comes up where you've got a lot of deliveries or some sort of a large heavy load or whatever, come talk to us. We'll see what we can work out.
So all I would say is you talk to Andrew, and then Andrew's job is to talk to the contractor. And look, we try to be good neighbors everywhere we go. If there's ways to make those things happen, we absolutely want to do those things. But what we can't do is start putting roadblocks or things in front of the contractor or direct them to do things that are costing them money, right? Because I'm not paying extra.
No, and that's not my intention. You know,
No, I'm just trying to say, like this is what we're up against, right? I know you're not. We'll talk about that when the time comes, and if we can make those types of arrangements happen, what everybody understands is we will absolutely try to do those things.
Phase 1 is supposed to be done by. Yeah, I mean, it's got to be.
I'm gonna say spring.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, if I'm spring and starts July
April.
4th, did you say starts July 4th?
After the 4th of July, yep. Ballparking it, right? Granted, if it could rain or whatever, but after the 4th of July, And, sorry, spring for me is the beginning of the construction season, which in the state of Connecticut is April 1st. That's when we define spring. Because just understand, though, if we needed asphalt, look, there's nobody making asphalt in the state of Connecticut until the second week in April. And it rains like 80% of the days in April. So the reality of even getting work done in April is, no pun intended, it's almost a wash, right? It's been doing this for a long time. I mean, you really got to get lucky to get a lot of good weather days in April, okay? So I'm going to say April, okay? And guess what? If we don't have any problems and we can get there sooner, it's in nobody's financial interest or gain to not get out of that stage. The sooner the better, right? So believe me, we're going to be working hard to get out of that stage as quickly as possible.
We want to get out of here worse than you want us out of here.
Well, time is money, and the longer they stay here, it costs them more. Okay?
How about one last
Yes, ma'am.
comment, and it's not to you guys,
Yes.
actually, but I'm worried about the people who have businesses in town.
Yes.
And this might be an opportunity for that group and some of us who really care about the center of town.
Sure.
Down street, we call it sometimes, to do some activities that would bring people in
Sure.
so that it makes it more attractive and people want to come. Because I think that's going to be important.
Yeah, Liz and I are going to work closely with this, and we're going to make sure there's signs. We've learned a lot from the East Haddam project when their bridge was closed. They had complete closure.
So yeah, I know the job well.
Yeah.
Know the job well.
We're going to make sure that these guys do have customers still.
So we have things like business open signs, and so there's things that we can do to encourage that, but it's still under construction, but the word should be out even if it's on the town website. Look, businesses are open. Encourage everybody to utilize the businesses, right? There's no reason for a business to be closed. However, it has the potential for it to be impacted, right? I mean, and what I try to tell people is we haven't been here in 100 years. We'll be here for 2 years, and then you won't see us for another 100 years, right? I mean, that's just, at some point the bridges need to be replaced in Connecticut. We've got over 5,000 bridges in Connecticut to maintain and keep in good working order, and I'm here to tell you it's a full-time job.
But I've instructed them all that they can't bring their lunches to work. They
They have to buy.
Buy and sell.
Yeah. When we come into town, we're happy to see Dunkin' Donuts, restaurants, steakhouses, markets, drugstores, because, when you work 10 hours a day, it's nice to be able to walk across the street and get the things maybe you need, right?
A little physical therapy if you get stressed out.
Okay, Andrew. Give Andrew that number.
Do you have any pictures of what it will look like when it's completed?
I don't have pictures. I don't know if I even have renderings. Let me just, and I apologize, let me just go through what I have. I mean, these are the kinds of conditions that we're up against. Let me just see.
You have all of them? Do you have SO2? We have drawing number SO2?
I do, I just have to pull it up. So if I go into project-wise, so what is that, Andrew? Is that a bridge, no, structure sheet?
Yep. There you go, right there.
Right there?
This right here. The bottom.
How?
The bottom.
Sorry.
Go up.
Go up.
There you go.
So it's a cross-section, right?
Wow.
Of the bridge when we're done. And you can see just massive structures, footings, 2 rows of piles, battered piles on the front, plumb piles on the back, doubly thick abutments. This bridge is going nowhere when we're done. Architectural treatment on the outside, so it's gonna kind of have some character. One of the things that's unique, we have what I call a see-through parapet. Most of the bridges we have a solid concrete block wall. This has got some see-through parapets, which gives a nice, you get to see the stream, upstream and downstream. It's very, very nice. It's an extra, it's not your standard cookie cutter type of bridge that you used to see on the Route 9s, right? So it's got some extras, some flair to it. So,
Aluminum rails?
yeah, aluminum bridge rail, yeah.
No
Yep.
maintenance?
Yep. Expensive, yes, but nice.
Is it wider than the current bridge or the same?
So basically, the footprint, if the footprint of the old bridge and the new bridge, it's basically the same. It's not